I know that you can she let me fuck her, so did her sister. Put the table in front, tell the label I'm taking it. Okay. What's going on, y'all? It's Cashmere, California. Pod is good and all the time. If you know, you know. If you don't, you will learn. Welcome back to episode 8. Episode 8 of the Pod is Good podcast. How y'all been? It has been very good for the show. In our opening few episodes, we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered a lot of music ground, some political ground, some cultural ground, some sports. I mean, we getting into it. We're getting into it. And so far, my guests have been bringing a lot of interesting perspectives and angles, and the dialogue has been incredible. Even the people in the chat, I appreciate all of y'all because y'all have been keeping things moving as well. It's great having you in the chat, getting an outside view because it was still at the end of the day, it's only two minds in the midst of this conversation in the studio, but the world, you guys provide a whole new background, a whole new vantage point of ideas or thinking. And so that really helps the show. It really helps the show. It gives it a much deeper level. So we appreciate that involvement. We will continue to stay tapped into the chat to make sure we answer all questions. We engage with everybody. And whether you are listening audio on Apple Podcast or you are watching this on YouTube or any other place that we are streaming, welcome. Welcome to the Pod is Good podcast. Once again, I'm your man, Cashmere, California, and we have another great guest today. I'm waiting for him to get to the studio. You know, he had to fly all the way in from London town. I don't know why every time I say London, I have to say London town. I don't know why. I honestly couldn't even tell you where I got that from. Like, where was the first place that I actually heard London town? And I just locked in. You know what I mean? I just stayed with it. And so now every time I introduce this guy to any of my friends, I always say London town. He didn't even say that. He's actually from London and he never says that. So where did my American mind get that every time I speak of London, I need to say London to, I don't know. I don't even think it's a good accent when I say it. There's a lot of things wrong with me saying London town. But watch, when he comes on, I'm probably going to do it again. Now I have to do it again just because I said it. But if I didn't say it, I probably would have did it again anyway, just because London town. I don't know. I need to make sure that when I get to London for the first time, I was actually invited to this guy's wedding, but wasn't able to make it. Shame on me. But I have a feeling that when I finally do make it, I gotta make sure I don't keep saying London. They might not even like. They might just. Matter of fact, if you in London, I apologize if I'm saying anything that's, you know what I'm saying, that's offbeat. If you listen to it, like, yo, we don't say that. Matter of fact, we're trying to get rid of that stigma. Even if you know exactly where I got it from and you're just trying to get rid of it. And then here comes some new guy bringing back the London town again. My apologies, y'all. My apologies. I don't mean anything bad by it. I got nothing but good to say about it since I've never been. Now I'm gonna talk to my guest about it because, of course, growing up in London, I believe he grew up in South London. So shout out to South London. Book, 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 book. He's told me some stories that are pretty interesting, but you know, we'll get into that. I'll let him get into that. And as we wait for the guest to get here, let's real quick talk about the upcoming NFL season if you're interested in that. Now, everybody knows, if you know me, my team is the Dallas Cowboys. That's my number one team. I got that team from my dad. Don't hate on me. every young boy should get a team from his dad. You know, you grow up, maybe you start to venture out and have your own team, but most young men tend to gravitate towards the sports. Number one, the actual sport that their father loves and watches, and then on top of that, what teams he loves and watches. And that's not how it goes all the time, which is fine, but for the most part, that's how it is. So, coming out of Missouri, pretty much everybody in Missouri when I was younger, and I guess when my dad was younger as well, they kinda went for the Chiefs or the Cowboys or the Chicago Bears. And my dad just happened to be a Cowboys fan. So Cowboys is my number one team. My brother, who I lost when I was 16, lived in Kansas City. So the Kansas City Chiefs have been my number two team. All right. When you see this hat, number one, I just like hats, right? I just like fly gear. So I don't care if it's the Dolphins, Bears, it don't matter. Red Sox, if it's fly, I'm wearing it. Deal with it. But as Cashmere, California, I try to find a way to represent all California teams across the board. I want to know from y'all in the chat eventually, if it's not right now, but as the season gets closer, I want to know. What up, Mike? I see you. I see you in the chat, brother. My man Dub City tapping in. I see you. I do want to know who's your favorite team. I know Dub City's favorite team because we rivals. But I do want to know, what's your favorite team? Who you got this year? Even if it's not your favorite team, just who do you think is going to win it all? You think, Mahomes is going to do it again? You think it's hurt season? You think your team made enough changes in the draft to where you might change a division and maybe your conference and it's going to look different with your team? Let us know. Let us know because when the season starts, we're going to get into that. Oh, please believe I got some football fanatics around me, and we are going to get into that. With no further ado, I do see my my guest in the studio just walked in, just touched down. I'm not gonna say from where because I just said it, and I don't, anyway. This is like one of my favorite guys on the planet. I know our conversation is about to be incredible. Incredible. He is uh one of the greatest producers that I've ever met. He is top-notch DJ, the DJ I call for all of my events here in the Los Angeles area. He is a real estate broker and extraordinaire. He does some of the most incredible visuals to sell real estate properties out here in Southern California. Top notch, elite level, supreme. I'm telling you, this guy's a man of many hats. And not only a man of many hats, but he wears them well. Some people like have a lot of hats, but all the hats falling off and a little dingy. He wears the hats very, very well. With no further ado, my guest for episode 8 is my man, the one and only DJ Dodge.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Family?
I'm good. Are you reading me?
Yeah, I got you. You're a little choppy. What, you out in the woods?
Yeah. No, I'm in the backyard, man. I'm in the backyard.
Okay.
You see a little bit of gym gear back there. Get your workout on.
I see you.
Let me know if these are sounding good.
Yeah, you sound good, but your video is a little choppy. Matter of fact, Dub City and anybody else in the chat, let me know if that's just on my end or what it looks like on your end. Is DJ Dodge's video is it fluid or is it a little choppy so we can make some adjustments before we get the party started? I didn't know if you was gonna go with your government or not, so I said DJ Dodge, but my man
good.
Roger Drake's.
Yeah, I actually signed in as Roger Drake's, and that's, as that's a whole,
Yep.
there's a whole story behind all that. So
Yep.
let's get into it, man. Let's talk. You know what I mean? One. Thank you for the intro. Beautiful intro, and
Definitely.
one of my favorite things to do in life especially since meeting you back in 2008-ish,
Yeah.
is conversate.
Mm.
You know, because you're
Yeah.
one of the most cerebral thinkers I know. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you,
like
brother.
like you don't speak unless it runs through a couple of, even if it's a quick checks like AI, a couple of quick checks of a thought process that I truly value and trust, which is
Respect.
rare because a lot of people they speak and then they think about what no, I didn't
Yeah.
quite mean that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? No, I like that's one of the things about you that's admirable and
Respect.
inspirational.
I
So
appreciate
yeah,
that, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time being here. Yes, we have some amazing conversations. So I felt it only right to get you on so we can do it once again. Um,
once again.
but for I do want to start off because I realize I haven't been doing this. I've kind of been treating my guests like everybody knows them instead of kind of giving them some kind of foundation of the history of my person that I have on set with me today. Dub City says choppy vid, but audio is straight. Shout out to DJ Dodge. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Podcast. Let's go. All right, my man, Roger Drake's pod is good
All the time.
and all the time.
All the time.
Pod
Pod is
is
good.
good.
Mm,
So, with that being said, I told everybody already that you were from London town.
mm.
So let's give people a brief synopsis of your journey from London to the States so they can, at least know a little background of Mr. Drake's.
Yeah, like young Kashmir said, London Town came here in '07, which is coming up for I believe 17 years, I believe, if my math is right. Um, moved from straight from London, came, traveled to a few other cities around America just to get a feel, and then LA felt like a great mix of like country living, if you so choose, but also had accessibility to all the city life and all the action.
Yeah.
And at the time, action was music,
Hmm.
DJing and music production. That's what I considered action at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, as you know, California, Los Angeles, or Hollywood is a great place for media, music, creating content, all that good stuff. So that's why I chose LA over Atlanta and over even New York. New York just felt like London to me
Hmm. Interesting.
because New York is especially Manhattan, it's a concrete jungle. And that's where I was as such. So I thought I'm not moving there. Went to Miami, and that just felt like being on vacation permanently. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so LA was the choice, and I also had a friend here as well. I had one person here from London who I knew, so I thought, okay, fine,
Yeah.
and I'm here.
There
So
it
so
is.
so so that in itself is a success
That's a
because of
fact.
because immigration isn't a joke. You have to go through so many hoops, so many hurdles. You have to conquer. Then you have to find a career. You have to get income from scratch. And I knew even though I had a reputation in the UK and Europe for doing music and what I had done,
Yeah.
zero here in America.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason for that is I don't know if people know, but back in the day when music used to be released, it was released territorially. What's the
Hmm.
word, man?
I got you. We understand.
You got the
We
word
with
right,
you.
yeah.
I got you.
As opposed to now, when it comes out, it'll be on Spotify worldwide, and everyone has access the same time.
Right. Immediately.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Immediately, when a big commercial album comes out, everyone has it day one or day two. Whereas back in the day, it was never like that. That's why you had so America would have a release. America had the releases on the American product. Whoever it was, new Busta Rhymes album or whatever, that album wouldn't hit the UK as a UK release for about another 5 months.
Mm.
Um,
Interesting. I don't
and
think I knew that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That
And we
makes
and we
sense.
would we would have access to it via imports. So literally, it would have to come in, be flown in on a plane, you know, an American copy in a shrink wrap, be
Mhm.
distributed by importers, and then hit the stores as imports, and they were like 3 times the price as a release, as a homegrown release. I mean, or a release
Yeah,
from England.
from
So
England.
even though the labels, Universal, Warner Brothers, EMI, they all had worldwide distribution,
Yeah.
they would stagger the release.
And now, okay, so that brings up an interesting question. So
Mm,
the actual product is 3 times the amount,
yeah.
approximately, right?
Mm,
But there's this exclusive, like, kind of cloud around it that it came from the US as an
mm,
import.
mm,
So what did that do on people actually purchasing it? Did people purchase it less because it cost so much, or
mm,
were people willing to pay that cost because it's like, yo, this is that
mm.
over the seas? Like, which
Yeah.
one
Well,
kind of?
no. What it was is the DJs and the professionals, quote unquote professionals,
Yeah.
would be the ones that would have to spend that extra money and be willing to, you know, play and push those records.
Mm,
And if that push was good enough and it worked, that's
yeah.
when the English label would decide, okay, we're going to put this out.
Got it.
We're gonna now release this as a Busta Rhymes new UK single.
Interesting.
Up until that point, that record cannot chart in the UK charts. The equivalent to the UK Billboard or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would they
Up.
redo the album, like with a UK feature or something like that, or would they just put it straight out exactly how it is, but now it's a
Well,
UK release?
that's a fantastic question, and this is where I would come into play and how I made most of my money back in the day.
Okay.
Basically, what would happen is they would need, you know, a certain amount of people would have heard the song. Busta Rhymes "Woo Ha" got you all in check.
Yeah.
A certain amount of people would have heard the song, but in order to reissue it, then you need another story as such. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a newer
A
story,
new story.
or a story that fits a new narrative, which is Britain, a totally different culture. Yeah. So they would usually it would involve remixes. See what I
Mm.
mean?
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
was one of the fortunate ones to be a go-to for many remixes during that period of time. So yeah, that's what they would do. They would reissue it and they say new single Busta Rhymes featuring UK DJ Dodge remix or whatever, as a as a as
Yeah.
a something to market, extra
Yeah.
marketing.
To
Yeah.
kind of tag it. You make it home. People are
Right.
like, oh, okay, they messing
Right.
with us. That's what's up. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then
That's
and
almost
then
like
they,
what's her name? Not Adele. I can't think of her name. The one that did American Boy.
mm,
And then
Estelle.
Estelle,
Yeah.
Adele. So if I mean, I guess it was different because by then, like you're saying, it wasn't a territory driven release. Um, but it's kind of a similar idea with Estelle. That song American Boy might have been
Mm,
fine in the UK with just her. But then,
right.
or maybe
Exactly.
like, Banger or somebody on, featured on it. But then
Mm,
releasing in the US throwing Kanye on it,
yeah.
it now provides that
Exactly.
crossover. I
Exactly.
get that. I
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
it. I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, at that time, features were big anyway. Cosigns and features were big in American music, but obviously being in the UK, they couldn't necessarily afford to grab another superstar to put on a song to remarket a song just for Britain. So
Right.
therefore, the closest things they would do is obviously remixes from known or, you know, British individuals. Later, you would start seeing like British rap as British rappers started to get more popular
Yeah.
and more heat, homegrown heat rappers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you start to see a rap artist on an American remix. You see what I mean?
Uh,
Like now you'd have a like a ASAP Rocky featuring uh the one of the top UK rappers because now
Burner Boy.
yeah, Burna Boy is actually African, but
Oh, that's
there's
right.
that there's,
That's right.
yeah
See,
there's actually a lot.
that's an American thing. See,
Yeah.
once you get across the water, it's like all of it's just one seamless group to
Yeah,
us.
but the example's perfect though. You see, I mean,
Yeah.
Wizkid and Burna Boy are featured on a lot of American songs because
Yeah.
they're huge in their own territory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
think about the like the cross marketing that's going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you have now an American rapper who's not huge in Nigeria, and he comes out on a major label, and they got money to spend or whatever, and they put him on a song with Burna Boy, all of a sudden you have two markets.
Boom.
You got two continents,
Right.
and you know how many Africans there are. You know what I
Right.
mean? Even though most of them are probably not necessarily big spenders when it comes to music, but there's definitely a lot enough
Right.
in the streaming
Yeah. And they
terms,
still
which
do
is
concerts.
and
You know,
it's oh man, they hit the road. It's a different ball game. Do you know what
hard.
I mean?
That's where the money's made. That's kind of
So
where the money's always been made. For real, for
yeah,
real.
it's just terrible about my thought just now, which is terrible. I'm trying to think of the British version of Burna Boy, like or somebody on that level. And I have a guy's face, but his name is not coming to me. And he's big. He dated Naomi Campbell.
Oh shoot.
If it comes back, I'll
Let's call Naomi. She remembers.
yeah, or Naomi Campbell's ex. He's a huge rapper,
Yeah.
but
She
there
remembers.
are unlike when I was making music in the UK, there are artists now, producers and like Labyrinth. I don't know if you heard of Labyrinth. He's a UK
Mm-mm.
producer, stroke artist, and
Okay.
he was on the like the recent NBA Finals, which I just watched, 2023. They
Yeah.
had these Escalade commercials coming up every now and then, and there's a black guy singing on piano, or whatever. That's an English artist.
That's him.
He's a Londoner.
That's fire. That's big.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
That's what I'm
big.
saying. English artists now are on another level where they do every now and then one or two penetrates worldwide, and they're on
English artist
mm,
on a Cadillac
yep,
in a Cadillac commercial in the NBA Finals.
yep, yep, and it was regular. The ad kept popping up all the time. I was watching it.
That's massive.
Yeah, mainstream. His name's Labyrinth. He has a new album out, and I was driving down Sunset recently, last few weeks, and I saw the billboard for his new album coming out. So there are maybe 4 or 5 UK artists who are on that level, like multimillionaires.
Yeah.
You know, they made money that I never even dreamed of, even was in that market. Do you know what I mean?
I get
But
that. But you know that happens with people like you. And when I say people like you, I just mean like it came down to a time frame in which your blessing existed. Whereas sometimes you just that particular artist, DJ, producer, writer turned into this foundational block. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of those remixes that you did, a lot of that effort that you put in during your run is partly why that market got a chance to build and that crossover built. And they may never ever know you, but you had a part to play in these multi-millions. And
absolutely.
I know that's there's something to be said about that. And so with that, let's talk about that. Like,
yeah,
I know you've done plenty of remixes. I know you've worked with plenty of stars long before you moved to the LA area or moved to the United States, period.
Yep.
Whether you want to give names or not, that's on you. But tell us some stories about some projects that you did, maybe your first project, maybe the one that had you kind of starstruck, whatever story you want to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I got some good projects. Let me summarize it because I know we don't have all day here. But recently, within the last month, an English DJ called me from like a online stroke digital radio station called Solar FM. They're like a soul stroke R&B radio station where a lot of old cats play a lot of old music, but they're real connoisseurs. They're real savants. They know their music and they play a lot of stuff. And he called me talking about how, actually it started with an email, then it turned into a call about he's a big fan of my work and he wants to do a 2-hour special just on my work.
Fire.
So I was like, okay, you know what I mean?
Got those juices flowing. I know it did.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm flattered. I'm honored. I'm humbled. Yeah. I'm surprised. Every kind of emotion.
Right.
And then he said, we got talking back and forth. And he said, what I'll do is I'll email you the playlist. Then if you could add some short stories, if you have any, to these titles, like how they came about, because as I just said earlier, most of my work was collaborative. A lot of it was collaborative, either remixes or productions featuring people, that type of stuff. So there were a lot of stories with each song. And he sent me a playlist which had stuff in it that I'd even forgotten. Literally, I've forgotten these songs. And then I added a couple of songs that he could use, and I sent him a couple of exclusives, and I put a couple of comments on them. And it really was, it really made me realize that a body of work, albeit say over a 12-year period or whatever, lives forever.
That's a fact.
Which is
That's a
one of the
fact.
beauties of music. It lives forever.
Right.
So
Of art
you
in
know,
general.
art in general, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he took it. He covered kind of everything, but some of the points, to get back to the original question, were 1991, 92-ish. I was working in a record store, and a Roland workstation came out called a W30, which was an all-in-one synthesizer workstation. But what made this one special was it had a sampler in it. See what I mean? Which up until that point, most of the synths, they had programmable keyboards and they had programmable drum things you could do with stuff that was already in it, but it never had a sampler that had the ability to take external sounds and manipulate them. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Samplers were around. Akai 950, Akai 1000. This was before MPCs.
For the MPC.
Yeah? Right, just before the MPC. The Akai sampler evolved into the MPC.
Right.
Which was a collaboration between Akai and a drum machine maker called Roger Lynn. Funny enough, his name is Roger Lynn, who was involved in the creation of a Lynn drum, which was basically these instruments were like real kind of big moments in music equipment creation, just like Moog. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when people think Moog, they think of a sound. It's a Moog. It's a sound.
Yeah.
But there was somebody who developed that technology and created the first Moog, and then tied up with Roland, and the Moog machine came out, and that's all over the 70s funk, all over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. At the time, I see my train of thought just went. What was I saying? At the time, the equipment.
You were saying,
yeah.
you were talking about projects, and so he was saying that he brought up 91, 92, or 90, was 92, 93.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I was in the record store.
Yep.
The Roland came out, and then I copped it, and one of my boys copped it, and we both started practicing and working on beats.
Okay.
And learning how to make music production.
Now was that your first piece of production equipment?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Roland, what was it? Roland what?
Roland W30.
The Roland W30. That's DJ Dodge's first piece of production equipment that launches his career, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy how you could be talking and your mind and your train of thought can go, but you can remember intricate details and numbers from like 30 years ago. It's mad, right?
Crazy. It's crazy.
So anyway, I left the record store and I started working in a room with a friend. And then basically we started cooking up beats and sampling, because we were DJs and we love records. As I said, I was in a record store.
Right.
We love music, and we heard all these sounds on these 99% American records that blew our mind. Yeah. So this is all the funk, the soul, the jazz, whatever was around then. Yeah, all the good stuff. Yeah. And then we started manipulating stuff and just sampling, like all producers were doing in that period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were inspired by Pete Rock and Large Professor, Lord Finesse, Diamond D. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the early 90s New York producers who were sampling. This is kind of, I guess, a little bit before Dre busts out, I guess. But then obviously later on, just hip hop sampling, producing, looping.
Before they changed the sampling laws, the copyright laws. Dude, I remember going back and listening to, not listening, but reading, we used to read the artwork in the album. You open up to see who did what, and there might be lyrics in it, there might be photos. We were all into it back in the day when they did production on that level. But I remember looking at a Tribe Called Quest album, and the sampling credits
mm,
were it might have been like 9 samples in a
mm,
song. I'm
mm,
like,
mm.
9
Yeah.
samples, but it was big. It was like
Mm,
you're trying to pull from the richness that you find in these, like you said, these blues, these jazz records that give it this feel, these funk
mm,
records, and that's
mm,
what gave hip hop its tone.
mm,
You know what I mean? That's a big reason why, even though there's greater dynamics and more brilliance in the sound, um that's created now, because the sounds are more developed and digital, that it's hard to recreate the energy and the depth
mm.
of the sounds that they had for music in the 90s, because it was pulled from so many rich places.
I mean, I say it's impossible to even recreate that richness. That
Yeah,
that's why, like you said, Tribe Called Quest records sound so great. You know, they hit so great to us because of they were taken from like Blue Note samples and all these old jazz records, and that were recorded in a different way in a different time using different techniques. And yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, agreed. Music has definitely changed a lot, and it's funny, the digital revolution or evolution is definitely part of the story for me because of um I guess I could say it wasn't positive as far as the changes that came.
Mhm.
um because of over the years, I don't want to skip a big part, but basically over the years, as the MP3s got introduced, and
Yeah,
then all the time access was becoming easier. Like like, for example, when I got into music, the MPC, sorry, the W30 I spoke of was like about £2,500
mm.
back then. So even into today's money, that'd probably be like 5-7 grand.
that's
You'd
that's
have,
a, that's a big
right?
investment.
Exactly. So,
That's a big
and
investment.
there were so many other pieces you had to get together in order to become a music producer and actually produce something and get it out. You had to. Whereas now you don't need anything. Everything's free.
Everything's
You
free.
you literally could just, if you got a laptop, you can become it.
Right.
Any
And
kind
it's
of
it's
computer.
it's funny you say that. It's the first time I thought about the fact that when you said everything's free, it reminded me that, well, literally everything's free, from the production side to the
Mm,
product side, because you're paying for streaming sometimes, like if you're going through
mm,
Spotify or
mm.
Apple Music. But if you're dealing with Pandora or something, you might be streaming for free.
People people can still get what you could slave hours on for free
For free. and
and
and and
and enjoy it to the
And look at the
fullness.
difference. It's like, I wonder, is there a relationship between somebody like you spending what would, in American money, like you said, would be maybe like $5,000-7,000 on
Mm,
on one piece of equipment
mm,
to try to create music. So imagine, as we know, the 50, 80, $200,000 studios
mm,
full of equipment back then and more.
mm,
It's like they you couldn't just give music out for free. It cost so much to get there. It was
mm,
impossible. But now, the value of even creating it
mm,
has also, I can't say it changed the value of the purchase, because I feel like with LimeWire and whatever else, I feel like the chicken or the egg was kind of before the chicken in that situation, because it
mm,
felt like the price of music went down
mm,
before the production cost of music went down.
mm.
but
Yeah,
but that is an interesting relationship. It used to be
yeah,
expensive to make it, you had to pay
yeah.
for it. Now it's free to make it, music's free.
Mm. I think that's kind of what changed it a lot. Like I said, MP3s, and there was the whole Napster thing,
Yep.
where everybody was able to get stuff for free, and then it trickled through, and obviously then it got to a point where the labels were losing money and panicking about the changes that they weren't able to keep up with. Then
Right.
they,
Couldn't
then they,
monetize it.
yeah, then me who was a like a recipient of the benefits of music being expensive, because I
Yeah.
used to get paid to do the work I did from the labels or whatever.
Yeah.
That changed. So it got to a point where they didn't want to pay anymore. They went from, we'll pay you, and if we use it, great, to do it for nothing, and if we like it, we may pay you,
Mm,
and a
that's a
small
big
amount.
difference.
It went from 10 grand, 12 grand for one job, back then down to maybe 1,500 if you're lucky.
If you're
Yeah,
lucky.
if you're lucky. Yeah. So that it was that point, more or less around that point is when I kind of decided I was leaving and coming to America to try and see if there's a bigger pool of places to place music. And it's funny when I talk like this about the industry. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of money being made.
Oh yeah.
You see what I mean?
More.
There's still right, exactly. There's still a lot of money being made, even
Yeah.
more. It's just that I think personally, I never pivoted or changed quickly enough
Yeah.
personally in order to catch that train.
Yeah. No, I don't. I know exactly what you mean, and
And
actually, we will get into that. We will get into that.
right.
That change of the times. But before we leave it, because I don't feel like we dug enough into the moment, I want to sit down with.
The people.
Hold on. When you got the rolling, were you known as DJ Dodge then? Were you already
No,
DJ? So you were
no.
DJ Roger. What was the name then?
Well, no, I actually was Dodge then.
You were Dodge then.
So I was Dodge without the DJ. And what happened was the record store I worked in, I was Roger Drake's, that's my government name, and the guy I worked with, who was the owner of the store, was a Cockney. Yeah. For those who don't know what Cockney is like it's a London rhyming slang, developed in East London but spread to the whole of London, and eventually it spread to the whole of Britain, where everyone had a kind of a sound of raw London, but they replace words, they change words, they use different words for different things. I mean, like stairs is apple and pears. It's like a rhyming slang.
It's like so Cockney is like London's version of E40.
Yes. Exactly.
Got it.
Precisely.
Got it.
And it was and Cockney in England's like, I guess, from the 50s or 60s all the way up to now. People don't really use the term Cockney anymore because everyone kind of speaks with a bit of the slang if you're from London, but we just don't use the words anymore because the words are for people my age, 50 plus, who remember it. Anyway,
COTNEY.
No, COCKNEY.
Oh, Cockney.
Cockney, yes, exactly, yeah.
Cockney. Okay.
Yeah. So you
right.
you look that up, but it's interesting. It's interesting to know. But anyway, so basically, the guy who ran the store was a heavy on that, and he was always changing stuff. So he just said, "Oh, Dodge," and he would never call me Roger. He'd just say Dodge every day. See what I mean? So then the customers started calling me it.
Yeah.
Like I'm in a store now. All the customers who come in regularly, they're like, "Hey, Dodge, you got that new so and so song? Did the so and so come in or whatever? Hey, Dodge."
There it is.
So there it is. Back now. Let me just fill in quickly one quick question you said earlier, because I don't want to miss it, because otherwise it seems like we're rambling. Names. When I was first DJing in the record store, all these names used to come in. Very big UK prominent DJs.
Okay.
Judge Jules, Fabio Groove Rider, big names. I'm just saying them in case people want to look them up. Whatever.
Please.
The whole Ibiza scene. Carl Cox, who's a huge worldwide DJ.
Yep.
One of the biggest DJs in Ibiza and the whole techno house movement.
There you go.
That was what was biggest in the store, by the way, techno and house. Because that's what was biggest in the UK at the time.
Dance music.
And it's funny. I do have, every now and then I do have a thought about if I'd have gone that route as far as my whole love. And just became a dance music DJ, because they did make paper back in the day.
Oh yeah.
They did. They made paper. Oh, yeah. But anyway,
to this day, the house music DJs, they shut the place down.
Exactly. Yeah. But I like funk. I love funk. I came from
followed
funk.
Your heart.
Yeah, I came from funk, soul, break beats, that type of stuff. So I just went there. So yeah, as I said, the W30, we started making music, then we started working on a project, then we got a deal with Island Records. Me and the guy. Yeah. I'm gonna try and go through the story just because I've mentioned it and I don't want to miss it per se.
Yeah, no, all good. All good. As long as we get back to sitting down with that kid that got his first pieces of equipment, because I want to sit down with your first remix. That was what we trying to get back to. But go ahead.
Okay.
I follow you.
Well,
go ahead.
yeah. So anyway, all right. Yeah, I can get there. So yeah, we got a deal. Me and the guy, we got a
Mm-hmm.
deal with Island Records as Dodge City Productions, which was a name we just came up with for some reason.
Dodge City.
Um,
Dodge
Dodge
City,
City.
bit. Dodge City, bit.
Yeah, exactly. And we started working on our first album for Island Records. Now we signed to Island Records in 1990,
And Island
and
Records was a subsidiary of who?
at the time it was a subsidiary of Polygram,
Okay.
which is now what you know as Universal.
Right. Right.
Polygram was the label that owned Polydor. I don't know if you remember Polydor. Um, Part of basically 100 years. You know what I mean? A major.
Right. In the game.
So yeah, and at the time we had two majors who were offering deals. What happened was we made a demo, one song, one demo we made. That's how the industry used to be.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that nowadays. You'd be so lucky to get a deal off anything. But one demo, and then one DJ played it on his radio show. He was on a mainstream radio show, and then we had a lot of calls from there, and we had two offers, contract offers. One was from Warner Brothers at the time, UK, and then one was from Island Records. And Island Records to us, sorry to cut you, Island Records to us was like amazing because obviously, for those who don't know, Island Records is Bob Marley. Yeah, Chris Blackwell founded Island Records. He's a white guy, and one of his first signings was Bob Marley.
Wow.
See what I mean?
Wow.
Bob, so
historic.
It's a historic label.
That's all he needed to sign. He could have stopped right there.
Yeah, that's
We're done.
What I mean. It's one of them moments. Yeah, but he didn't. He later on signed U2 as well.
Oh.
And then they later on signed Amy Winehouse. See what I mean? So they've signed. They it's a label. It's really a label. See what I mean?
Generational talents.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
That's yeah, so we were there for like 3 years, maybe. We had a few songs out, a couple of videos out. One album came out called Stepping Up and Out. And then stuff didn't sell, you know. And then we didn't even get into beef with the label. They just kind of labels duck you when things go bad. That's what they do. They don't call you to tell you a drop. There's no, you know, when you hear about an artist got dropped from the label, there's no phone call or official. There's nothing.
You just feel it.
You just feel it.
You just feel it. Like the energy I had yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. and the A&R guy hasn't returned. He won't return your call.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You've been erased.
Yeah, or you walk into the label because back then a lot of some of the companies you could walk in, you know, and the marketing people are kind of looking down a bit, you know. You know, you're walking through marketing. You've been yeah. So so that crazy. That was that, and it was.
How did that feel? Was that like a heartbreaking moment? Was that empowering? Like, how old are you in this moment?
I'm like 20. I think I'm like 24-ish.
Oh yeah. 20, so that's a gut punch at 24.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Yeah.
Just had my first kid.
Oh, you know. So you thought it was lining up.
Yeah.
You had to think. Exactly. You had to think. Yo, I did one joint.
Yeah, exactly.
They all want me.
And I just
had a kid. I'm out of here.
I'm on tour with Jamiroquai. You know Jamiroquai?
I remember Jamiroquai. Yeah, right. Yeah. We say it different, but yeah, I remember him.
Jamiroquai. Anyway, I'm on tour with him. You know what I mean? We're on tour with him, supporting him, like doing shows or whatever.
Wow.
Going to Europe, doing shows, all this kind of stuff. But then the label dropped us. At the time, it felt really bad. You know what I mean? But as I said, all things work together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually.
But
so basically,
you on a major tour with Jamiroquai.
Yeah.
And out here, Jamiroquai was like, he was London music to us. We're like, oh, this is UK. All of them. Like, this is the UK look. This is how they dance. This is everything. Right. So that, to anybody that doesn't know, Jamiroquai back then. Yeah. I mean, this is like you get signed from one song, and now you on stage with, or you working with the baby. You on tour with Drake or somebody, like you gotta know, you gotta put yourself in the heart of Dodge at the time that like, yo, I did one joint and I am now opening for Drake. You
Right.
gotta feel like I'm out of there. Like there's nothing that's gonna stop me. I'm out of here.
Right.
And then to get the gut punch of the A&R not returning the call no more.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure loads and loads of artists have felt that because of
Oh yeah.
obviously as the years have passed by, you hear about artists all the time separating with their label and this and that and the other. And back then it meant a lot because of back then being signed was
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Everything.
It was like the equivalent to being drafted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it was kind of what we just talked about with the cost of everything. It's like
Mm,
a regular person couldn't think of, I'll just put out the next 5, 6 albums alone.
mm.
You
No,
had the money to do that. You need a label to do that. You couldn't
yeah.
put together your own tour. You couldn't
Mm,
call up venues. It just wasn't that back in the day. So if you didn't have the arm of the industry to
mm,
bring you in and walk you to success in
mm.
music, like it wasn't gonna happen.
Exactly, exactly. If so, yeah, it felt bad at the time, and I remember like moving house at the time or something. I was moving into a rental or something when I got the news, and but there were two reasons why it wasn't bad for long.
Hmm. Okay.
One was if you've ever been in a group, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Me and my partner in the group, what we had, we never saw eye to eye uh, consistently.
Mm,
So therefore,
yeah, I know
it's a
that.
bit, yeah. So therefore, it's a bit like a relationship that I suffered as such because of we were in a deal. We were signed.
Yeah, yeah,
See what I mean? We had a label. There were people relying on us. We had a management company we were signed to, whatever. So when I was dropped, there was that scenario which I felt immediate freedom from.
hmm.
Because if there's no, unfortunately, he didn't see it the same way. He thought, oh, we're a group. We don't need a label. We just carry on. We'll get another deal. We'll do whatever. This and that and the other. Whereas in my mindset, when we were dropped, I was like, I'm out of
So, and I'm pretty sure you didn't give him a call. So then you end up doing to him what the label did to y'all. Next thing you know, you
Right.
just wasn't really responding
Nah,
to the
nah,
call.
nah. I didn't. Thankfully, even at 24, 25 years old,
Yeah,
my character was what it is now. I didn't do that.
beautiful.
I didn't do that. I,
Respect,
I, yeah,
respect.
I basically sat down with him and chopped it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we chopped,
And
we
did
chopped
did
it up.
he keep going down the artist
Yeah,
route? Okay.
yeah. We both loved what we did.
Yeah.
It was just a case of not doing it together, but we both loved
Gotcha.
what we did, so we both carried on. And then at that point, to your point about the remixes,
Yeah.
that's where the remixes kicked in.
Got it. So okay, dope. So you covered the the growth of the artist, like the early portions of the artist,
Yeah,
and that artistry preceded the DJing or the
yeah,
or
exactly.
the remix part, because I guess
Yeah,
remixing and DJing is kind of almost right in the same space in that at that time.
yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay. 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 So
Yeah,
now dope. So now Dodge is kind of been through the ringer a little bit.
yeah,
He's kind of seen a little bit of the industry now.
yep,
He's felt the highs and lows. He's been on
yep,
stage and felt the extreme love, and then he's gotten the no phone call and felt the extreme low. So
yeah,
he's a little more acclimated to what this industry can do. So now he's getting approached by major labels to do remixes
yeah,
on. Okay, so going back to the Roland W30,
yeah.
right? How many how many tracks, if you remember, how many tracks or how long does it take before you're actually on your first major remix?
Okay, so
Or how long is that journey?
all
Did you
right,
do
well,
you
all
do
right.
independent artists? Like, tell us
No, if
about
if
that.
if if the Roland 30 was 1990
Mhm.
or 89 at the earliest, we had a major record deal by 91. So we had a major record deal about a year after first buying the equipment.
Wow.
And then we were
Y'all must
dropped
have
by.
been killing.
No, listen, there's a couple of things. But by 91, 90, by 92, 93,
Yeah.
we were about to get dropped. And by 94, I remixed All I Need to Get By Meth and Mary for the UK.
Classic.
Yeah, on Def Jam. Now, Def Jam was the same label, ownership-wise, as Island Records. Still is.
Oh, Island Def Jam.
They came together, right? I'm saying they came together later and called it Island Def Jam, but
Island Def Jam.
they were always under the same umbrella, Polygram, which is Universal.
Did not know that. Did not know that.
Right, there you go. So the A&R guy who was the same A&R guy in the same office.
Yeah.
He knew we've been dropped and we weren't doing much, but he loved the sounds. That's the thing, is sometimes the label might drop you and still love you. It's just business. It's just business, man. They just can't, you know. It's like when NBA players get traded from one team to another, the you know, it doesn't mean that player is no longer a great player. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a fit and the timing and how it works within whatever they're planning.
Yeah.
So the A&R guy loved the sound, and he gave me probably my first 2 or 3 major label remixes, which I never really did independent remixes. They never, you know, one, the independents didn't have much money in England.
Yeah.
And 2, there was just nothing really going on. There wasn't that many independents. So the
out
remixes,
the gate, you major.
Out of the gate, major. And I just wanted to add a caveat to that thought process there, which I always think to myself now when I'm working on stuff or trying to work my way into situations. Other than leaving the record store and buying the Roland drum machine and starting to program music, other than those moments, which weren't that hard because we was just having fun anyway, and we were young and naive, everything else, I never ever made an effort to make it happen. Let me elaborate.
Interesting.
Let me elaborate just to be clear, because I don't want it to sound like I didn't work hard. Right? I worked hard on the projects.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be in the studio all night. You know what you do. You're young. You're in the studio all night. You ain't married. You ain't got no kids, whatever. Or I had a young daughter, but she was with her mum.
Yeah. So whatever it takes, you in there.
I'm in the studio all the time. But I wasn't making an effort. I was never selling myself. Never. Not one day. Not one day did I make a project and say to somebody, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
Young producers, listen up. I know it's a different day. It's a different, way to get in and all of that. But trust me, there's a bar in that. There's knowledge in that. You gotta hold on to what you know is true. You gotta know your own value. You cannot let the world dictate it to you. And some of that happens when you're trying to sell it, because you're almost saying, hey, what? Like you just said, what do you think? Well, what value do you give on it? And if they say, the next thing you know, you're feeling like, oh man, I guess it's nothing. But if you know what you know, you got to move on it.
Exactly, and that's what it was. Everything I worked on and made, I liked it. If I liked it, that was it. I don't care if you buy it off me, pay me for it. I don't care what you do with it. If you want it, it's there. If you don't, I never had meetings trying to sell stuff. Every deal I ever signed, I signed 2 publishing deals over the years. I signed another record deal in 2014 for another one of my personal projects. No, not 14, because I was here. 2004. Crazy. Yeah, 2004, which is way later. I signed another major record deal with Sony for another project I had. That was part of the reason why I ended up coming to America pronto, because that project just was like, they never even released it. They just signed it and gave me money. But basically, back to my point, I never ever once had to sell, like go to an A&R meeting and say, hey, can you want to cut a check for this? Let's go. it was always a phone call. We want this, or can we have this, or will you do this for us? We'll pay you.
And where do you think you got that from? And I guess what I'm saying is like that's a character and a personality. That's something inside of you that had a strong belief and had confidence in what you did. What do you think about your upbringing, or what personally about you that you feel
You
like
know,
right off the bat, you're already
mm,
in that space? It didn't take you. Some people that might take years of having big hits and this and that and the other.
mm,
Now they like, okay, no matter what if you like it or not, somebody's gonna like it. For other
mm,
people that are just starting out and they really don't have a lot of stuff out there,
mm.
they wouldn't have that same confidence. So, what do you think it was about you at such an early age that had that, or they gave you that?
I don't know if it was anything I innately knew about. I'm not sure I was consciously aware of having any kind of confidence. You see what I mean?
Mm,
I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I think I think I was truly driven by passion. I just loved what I was doing and hearing,
mm,
and then there was never a financial strain, I guess. So therefore, I didn't you know I guess I didn't need to have to go begging as such because of I was making money doing a bit of DJing and a bit of this and a bit of that. However way it was,
that's
it just
another big
wasn't.
one. That's
Yeah,
another big one. Yeah.
exactly. Things were rolling and things were coming together. Because, like I said, because we signed a major deal and came out the gate as an artist with a major deal, we had a lot. My name was out there, so therefore I could get DJing work all the time.
Yeah.
I already had the record collection. I've been in the record store for a couple of years. I've been collecting music since the early '80s or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I had a huge collection of records. I was inspired by all the UK DJs as well. So I had, you know, a lot of funk, a lot of soul, a lot of house, a lot of jazz, a lot of all that stuff. And I don't know. It was just I just was making decent money. So you move different when it's like that, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think it was confidence. I don't think it was an innate upbringing type thing necessarily because my family parents weren't from that background. I mean, I had support from my mother all the time. We were close.
And
She
that's what
passed
I was just
away.
about to say. I was about to say, but I know a little bit
Mm,
about your family upbringing. I know you had a
mm,
strong mother. I know you
mm,
got a strong sister. I know you
mm,
had a family. And sometimes it may not be this direct, Roger, you're amazing at
mm,
this particular thing. You can do it. We believe in
mm,
you. And then you feeding into that.
mm,
Sometimes it is just the simple, but necessary foundation of love and
mm,
support,
mm,
and there's a confidence in that,
mm,
right? Matter of fact, I was just writing a song to a verse to one of these TikTok duets, and I said, I was taught to stay the course. That's what a man does. Be fertile ground for you to grow, baby. That's man love. It's
mm,
like that's kind of where we stand as husbands. It's like
mm,
trying to be that fertile ground for your wife to flourish, for your kids to flourish, and you want to be the foundation for that. So it could be something that maybe you can't put your finger on because it happened at such an early age and it
mm,
was just ingrained in you, but you made a magical point that everybody should get. Do not put so many marbles in just making money in music to the
mm,
point where you out there looking desperate, the point where
mm,
you out there looking hungry, look like you eating already.
mm.
You know what I'm saying? Looking like you
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
you ain't gotta. I'm not really about the whole fake it till you make it.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like I had another song that said they used to say fake it till you make it. We changed that. Now we say embrace it till you take it. And it's like that's a whole different
mm,
view. But
mm,
so I'm not saying you gotta fake it, but I am saying don't wait on it.
mm,
Don't wait on the deal. Don't wait on somebody to give you an advance for you to make money. And the rest of the time you just kind of being a bum in so many words in the studio,
mm,
and your money's funny, so the moment that they dangle it out there, you gonna jump
mm,
at it, and they know it too because they know the difference in an artist that's doing good and an
mm,
artist that needs this.
mm,
Trust me, as you know, every
mm,
conversation that you have with an A&R, with an exec, it ain't just
Mm,
a conversation. They evaluating you. They
mm,
analyzing you. They listening to hear what you got going on, what you don't. Oh, you got kids. Oh, okay. Oh, you got 6 kids. You got 2 baby. Oh, okay.
mm,
Oh, you know. Oh, you still living with your mom. Oh, okay. They hearing all that. Oh, you
mm,
pulled up in that. Oh, okay. Oh, that's your sister car. Oh, you don't got a. Oh, okay. And
mm.
every time they find out one of them things, the number goes down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
walked in, they was gonna offer you 150. By the time you get done with that, they offer you 35 because they
Right,
like
because
they gonna
they give
take
you
it.
what they need to give you, and you're right. They know you're gonna take less, or you need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah, that was a good point, and that was part of it. Definitely, I had my DJing, you know what I mean, and it was fine. I didn't really the music was supposed to be enjoyable, and I often say that part of what changed, I guess, in the later years was um, I got on a few projects where I would have an A&R directing. So it's almost like I would do something, they would like it, they'd want it, they'd call me in, I'd be the producer, make it, but then A&Rs would get involved and start changing stuff or trying to change stuff. You know what I mean?
hmm,
That would happen every now and then, and that would be part and parcel of it. But I know it was a passion driven thing, and I was doing the right thing most of the time, because even when I heard 25, 30 of my projects or productions in the last 2 or 3 months, which is like 25 to 30 years later, I listen to them and I'm jamming.
yeah,
And I think to myself, I wouldn't have changed a chord, a single chord I wouldn't have changed.
fire,
You know,
fire.
I heard about 2 mixes out of 20 where I think I could have mixed that a little better. I could have made the sonics a little better. But
Yeah,
other than that, the ideas, even the stuff me and you made, me and you've worked on over the years, I listen
yeah,
to them and I'm like, same feeling.
yeah. This is it.
I don't know whether I've reached my I don't know if I've reached an apex of my creativity or whatever, but I wouldn't change nothing, man. That shit's
Yeah,
alright. I like that. It's
yeah. No,
working.
so,
You know what
sometimes
I mean?
even if your creativity gets better, sometimes it's just like, but that's already it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
already it. It's like, yeah, somebody could probably go back and whoever produced, James Brown, get up off of that thing. Yeah,
Mm,
maybe now or maybe 20, 30 years after that point, they got a little more creative. They got a few more, tricks of the trade. They've learned some things.
mm,
They could probably make the song even better in that moment. But at the end of the day, what they did right there,
mm.
done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's it's done. And you kind of threw it out there, a little haphazardly, but you said that you worked on an
Mm,
iconic, classic, a legendary song. Well,
mm,
to a lot of us, when we think about a rapper and an R&B artist doing a collaboration,
mm,
this is the crescendo. This is the top of the mountain.
mm,
I still remember the rooftop video. I remember Meth walking
mm,
around doing his thing. I remember
mm,
Mary's in the cut, just rocking to the music,
mm,
them sitting next to each other. What was it like working on that song at that
mm.
time for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was always crazy because remember the territorial releases I
Yeah.
spoke of. By the time I get the project to work on, it's already a hit on like Yo MTV Raps
Yeah.
or whatever was out. It's
Yeah.
already out there in the
Fab
world.
Five Freddy.
Right, it's already out there. So I already know it's a smash. I already knew Method Man and Mary were stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Based on their own personal projects.
Yeah.
Um, so it was always great because back then you'd get a copy of the tapes, which were 2-inch analog tapes.
Yep. Two
It
inch
cha-
tape.
it changed very quickly after that, but at that time I remember distinctively in 93, 94, it was a 2-inch tape. So you get this huge box, two of them sometimes, of all the parts. So
Mm,
I would get all the vocals, every piece of vocal, all the instrumentation, everything, because everything was recorded and printed
right.
most of the time. Every now and then you would get a tape where, oh, there's no drums on it, because that means that they just basically ran the drums live when they were mastering it. A bit deep to for people who don't know studio talk, but that would mean that everything would run in sync in a studio. So
Yeah,
imagine
makes sense.
everything's, the tapes running with the voices on it, and then the computer's running the instrumentation or whatever MIDI information's being ran,
Yeah,
keyboards,
out the box. Yeah.
different sounds, samples are running, but only what you print becomes part of the finished master.
Hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So every now and then I would get a master tape where there would be bits missing, but that was fine with me. And the reason that was fine with me is because I was a producer who did remixes. I wasn't a remixer, and I
Hmm.
wasn't I wasn't a DJ remixer.
Yeah.
I was a producer who did remixes.
Right.
There's
Right.
a distinction, a huge
That's
distinction.
a very different. Very
Right,
different.
exactly, because I know about chord structure, I know about key, I know how to manipulate tempo in a way that a DJ couldn't through time stretching, which nowadays is super simple. But not back then, time stretching was a huge deal. Time
Yeah.
stretching is where I take, say, Mary and Method are rapping at 94 BPM, but I want to do a production that is 99 BPM, so slightly faster. Or say I go extreme, say I want to do a house version, and I want to
Hmm.
go I want to go 128 BPM. How do you make Mary J and Method's vocals sound like they're not Minnie and Mickey Mouse?
Right. You don't
How?
want the Alvin and the Chipmunks
You
version.
don't want Alvin and the Chipmunk, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So back then it was a thing called time stretching,
Hmm.
where you basically pitch up the vocal and it does its thing. And back then it was glitchy. It wasn't perfect. Nowadays it's perfect. You can't.
Now you click it and it's done.
Yeah, 2 seconds. Back then you had to whole process it and do this thing. And most of the times, as I said, I'm a producer who's doing remixes. So most of the time, I'm thinking of a way that not only can I add flavor, UK flavor, whatever they want to the work, but also how can I tell a different story on this song?
Hmm.
See what I mean? Without ruining it, because that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Because you could enhance it. It's either two ways. You could enhance it, make it better, or you can make it worse. To me, there's really no middle ground. See what I
And
mean?
now
So
is there more pressure in that process because you know they're stars and it's a hit, or do you feel
no,
less pressure because you feel like it's already stars on it? It's probably going to be a hit because it's
yeah,
them, so it
yeah.
makes it easy.
Yeah, less pressure because of you have that's what I'm saying. Because I didn't do the independent and the smaller name artists,
Yeah.
I had less pressure because I knew that people, it was just a case of don't mess up. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was confident. I still am actually in that world. I'm still confident.
Oh
I
yeah.
still
Oh yeah.
I listen to beats and I always think I could do a better song than that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you
Reality
have.
may not. Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? The reality may not even be all that true sometimes. But as you said, confidence ultimately starts with a feeling. And I always felt that any beat I touch or any job I get, oh man, I used to look forward to, oh, Mary J. Blige, I really rub my hands. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put some minor sevenths, which was one of my favorite kind of chord movements, which is a jazzy vibe,
Hmm.
because I love jazzy soul.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
therefore, that's how I kind of ended up in the more neoclassic soul realm of work, because I did a lot of those artists because of, I guess, I just loved jazzy soul, and it just kind of came back. So I did Jill Scott, Erica Badu, Eric Benet, D'Angelo, Myron. There was quite a few names from that era.
That's a list of heavy hitters right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of my biggest work that came out was those people. Jill Scott. I did a Jill Scott remix of "A Long Walk,"
Oh.
which was one of her songs, and I completely flipped it. And that was the first remix that I done from the UK that came out, had an American release.
Mm.
One day,
That was
they
your
didn't even.
first one.
Yeah, they didn't tell me because they didn't. I'm a nobody, I guess. But I was in New York one time, and I'm in Tower Records or somewhere like that, and I'm going through all the imports, and I pulled out the Jill Scott "A Long Walk" remix package on 12-inch single, DJ Dodge UK remix. I've got it. I don't know where it is.
You were like,
Yeah,
yo.
yeah. It's online somewhere. But yeah, I was like, man, I was
I've been
that
telling
day was like,
everybody in the store.
yeah,
That's
that's it.
me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
me.
yo, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And because that's how it works. You know, don't forget, you do a remix in the UK, they're sending copies, they're sending DATs and listen versions back to the American offices.
Right, right.
But I did two mixes on it, and I spent a lot of time, and I changed the tempo and everything. And I did one that was like a it was like a sneaky version
I
of
wonder is it online?
come and
Keep
come and
going.
yeah, like come and talk to me, which was Jodeci.
Jodeci.
Yeah, and I had that in the background. I had one of my friends come and sing like a ghost in the background. Yeah, it's online. A long walk. If you put either DJ Dodge remix or Soul
I
Inside.
see Jill Scott, A Long
Mm,
Walk, Dodge remix.
right, yeah.
I'm
Or
gonna play it. Tell me, can you hear it?
okay, listening. I can barely hear anything.
And I can't share it.
Is it playing? Yeah, I can't hear anything on
You
my
can
end.
hear it?
No, not a thing. But anyway, yeah, they're out there for for people who care. Like I said, one guy called me up the other week, and he cared very much. So he did a whole show playing all this stuff. Um, so yeah, that was the remix period. After that,
And
you know,
you got you actually got Jodeci in it.
no,
I hear it.
no, it's no,
Or is
no.
that's
That's
not
my boy.
Jodeci?
That's my boy singing.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I hear the sing. Okay, so you had someone sing the Jodeci come and talk to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
you did flip it. That sounds completely
right.
different. But it's got a vibe.
Yeah,
It's got
and
that one instrument that I always hear uh Stevie Wonder play. It sounds like that Wurlitzer
okay,
sound.
probably yeah, probably most of my sounds, or a lot of the sounds I love to choose and use were classic funk soul sounds. Clavinets, Wurlitzers, Rhodes, Fender jazz bass, all those kind of old sounds. Because like I said, I was a student of funk soul, and
Yeah.
then I was a student of like Pete Rock and Tribe Called Quest and all the old cats. So yeah, so it was dope. Yeah. So after
All right,
around
so
that period,
just
then
in case anybody wants to search it, I can't play it because I don't want to get it taken down. But
mm,
this is the cover. If you search Jill Scott, A Long Walk, Dodge Remix Soul
mm.
Part One. They
Yeah,
used to always do part ones and part two.
that's because I did a part two's a whole different remix.
Got you. So
I did
yeah,
two, and that
check
and
it
let me
out.
let me
Check it out,
let me
y'all.
let
Check
me,
it
let me,
out.
let me yeah, and let me just caveat why I did part one and part two. That was the thing. I knew I had a big artist to work on, yeah,
Hmm.
and there's no way I'm missing or messing up. Oh yeah, I see the
Right.
cover. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way I'm missing or messing up. So I would sometimes, like, the label would call me to do one remix, and I'd give them two back.
Mm,
See what I mean?
just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure, and say they're both dope. Use both if you want. If not, and most of the time they're not sure of themselves, so they just use both. Because
Right.
let's face it, labels don't really know. They're just
They don't know.
they're just some person who's the gatekeeper, but they don't really know. So they put both, and then both came out on a 12-inch single, which I have somewhere in my collection.
Fire.
Yeah. And then yeah, a lot more remixes, a lot more remixes work production. I'm basically collecting all the revenue from it as well, because at the time they used to pay well. You know what I mean, and that's how I ended up owning property in the UK.
Mm.
And that was my first
Getting
taste
that
of
paper.
yeah, that was my first taste of property. I bought my first property at say 28, I think I was.
First
So
property at 28.
yeah, in the UK.
Okay.
Uh,
So I mean that sounds like a good transition into your new life
mm,
as the upcoming real estate mogul, as it were.
mm,
Uh I there's you have such a rich history in music. I honestly feel like we could spend the whole episode talking about just music.
mm,
But I want to transition, but out of the transition, because I ask every guest a top 5 question.
mm.
And so since you have uh brought it up, did I move my camera? I think I did when I was trying to play
I moved mine to try and get it mine out of the sun before the
um
thing just temperatures freeze. You know what I mean?
got you.
But we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Somehow my camera, there we go. So I want to know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was deciding which way to go. If I want to go the top five, your top five remixes,
Mm,
or if I want to go your top five funk albums. I think I'm gonna go there because that's a little more universal. So if you could, and it doesn't have to be albums, it could even be groups. Let's do that. Let's do
mm,
top five.
mm.
Oh, I got it. Top five funk groups to sample. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Specialized just for DJ Dodge.
Okay.
Top five, and it doesn't have to be ones that you actually sampled or not,
Mm,
but top five you feel like, yo, if I only had five records
mm,
or five groups and their records
yeah.
to sample to make the rest of the hits for the rest of my days, it
Yeah.
would have to be these groups, these bands. Who is it?
Okay.
Top five.
Um. Okay. I'm gonna name them just to keep it simple. It's a very difficult question because of just to give it some context. In sampling terms, if you go online, for example, and you listen to Kanye West samples on Spotify
Mhm.
or Dr. Dre samples, people have put together playlists of all their samples, all their hits, all their it's all there. You can hear it all. And
Yeah,
what you'll notice is there's such a wide array of projects that they sample from,
yeah, yep,
like from obviously from funk and soul to indie to rock, you know, all over the place. And a lot of the projects they sample from weren't even hits.
hmm. Yeah.
See what I mean?
That usually gets you some of the best samples because it's
Yeah,
something that's untapped. People don't know about it, and you're
right.
able
It's
to
just
flip it in your own way. I agree with that.
exactly. So just keep that in mind as I mentioned these projects to sample.
Okay.
I'm gonna be really obvious. Number one would be James Brown.
Boom. Off
You know what I
top.
mean? He basically him and his bands or whatever they played with such synchronization. I believe that's what made a lot of his samples really popular. Not
Yeah.
just the breaks where it was open drums, but just generally because one of the things about sampling back in the day, when you used to sample something, the more synchronized. Say you took 4 bars. No, say you took 2 bars
Mhm.
of a sample. The more synchronized the playing is within that 2 bars, the better, the easier it is to loop.
Right. Right.
See
And
what I
and to
mean?
build on top of it.
Yeah, and don't forget
Yeah.
before sampling got intricate, it was just looping. We were just
Right.
taking from beat to beat, from the one to the three. See what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So therefore, the more synchronized the original project, the better it would come out. So James Brown, he was in there. You know what I mean?
He was in that pocket. The
Yeah, so
whole
much
band
fun.
was in that pocket. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, James Brown. Um, Secondly, I'd say another band that was really great. They're New Orleans band called the Meters.
Amitas.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I know
yeah,
them.
the Meters. Um, Alan Toussaint was the leader of that band, I believe, and they got quite a few albums out, and you'd know some of their samples if you heard it. Just straight up nasty, you know what I mean?
Hold on. Did you say
Especially
Amitas or
the
the
the the,
meters?
the Meters,
Oh, okay.
Meters,
Okay.
like
No, I
in
haven't heard of them.
like
I thought I felt like I heard of a band called Amitus.
no
Ametus.
no
I thought you said
the
one of them.
Meters, like the Thes
The meters.
Meters, the
Got
Meters,
you. Got you.
and they were New Orleans, but it was to my ears when someone told me about them in like back in the day, and I listened to it, I was like, oh shoot, because of the drum sounds. You know what I mean?
Mm,
You'd know
mm.
it if when you hear it, you know it's real funky. Um, Another popular one, obviously, this is another obvious one, but that was just George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic. See what I mean? They had so many different sounds and moments within their music. I mean, that's Dre. That's all Dre
That's
basically in
all
the early
Dre.
days. In the early
Yeah.
days, that's his whole catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the things I knew those projects from playing certain songs as a DJ. So I had One Nation Under a Groove is a classic, is a staple in all of DJing. You know what I mean?
Fire.
Yeah, not only Knee Deep and some other songs. And then I remember certain songs like do you remember?
Getting down just for the
Yeah, all that. I
broken.
mean, it's just ridiculous. What's that one that DMX and Aaliyah did? dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that's a Parliament or a Funkadelic song. It's just they had some ill
They,
vibes.
they
You know what
were
I
they
mean?
were on something else.
They
They
was on something.
they presented themselves like they were on another planet, and they really were
Yeah,
on
exactly,
another planet with it. That's a fact.
exactly. Another band I liked to sample bits and pieces from were um, there's a few, but let's say Cameo for example. Cameo,
Cameo.
yeah, because of Cameo was introduced to most of us, especially people who are younger, when they came out as a three-piece band with songs like Candy,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Dum, dum,
Attack Me With
dum,
Your Love.
dum, dum, dum,
Yeah,
dum, dum,
those
ba-dum,
songs, you know what I mean?
dum, dum, dum,
Right,
dum. Yeah.
classics. And
Mhm, mhm.
most people know Cameo from there. Roger Blackman, I think his name is, or Roger Blackman or something Blackman. Not Don Blackman. Anyway, but as a collector, I had like the 12-piece and the 13-piece Cameo albums,
Hmm.
rigor mortis, you know, which were very funky.
Yeah.
Full band, very funky, very funky. Lots of break samples, bits and pieces. Same as Earth, Wind and Fire. A lot of people know Earth, Wind and Fire from, you know,
All right.
She's a Shining Star or September or whatever songs. But Earth, Wind and Fire, man, they were straight up jazz. They were deep. You know what I mean?
One of the best.
The sounds on their albums
One of
is
the best.
crazy. So
That
let's say
that
that.
that's a collection right there.
Yeah, exactly. Did I name
That's
five?
yeah. You named James Brown,
Yeah,
the Meters,
yeah,
Parliament,
yeah,
Cameo,
yeah.
and then finished out with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right, there you go. And believe me when I say I could go on,
I know you could.
especially if I had my laptop or something in front of me. There's
Yeah,
so many great samples, and
yeah.
you know, from people, and that was the thing about to be a sampling producer, you have to have access to a collection. There's
You
no
have to.
way. When I listen to Kanye samples on Spotify, I'm like his parents or somebody was around him that had a huge record collection.
Had to. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of your time is spent. It's like a regular producer who plays. They'll
Hmm.
spend the time on the keys, working out different things or working out different things. But with a hip hop producer who's a sampler, you spend your time doing this.
Mm.
You're going through records.
Records. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going through. You know what I mean?
Dropping that needle.
You're dropping needles exactly.
Yeah,
Looking. Oh. There's a bit there. Oh, go back. Put it back. Put it back. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
bit would work. You know, putting it together type of thing. So
yeah.
yeah,
Both are scientist level
yeah. It's
production methods. Both
yeah.
are finding the fine-tuned small details that
Yeah.
somebody else doesn't hear. I feel like the rest of the world appreciates,
Mm,
you know, when they listen to a James Brown record, they appreciate it when they're dancing to a Cameo record, but they don't understand
mm,
the scientific mathematical perfection
mm,
that lies within each measure to
mm,
make that song give you that feel.
mm.
And
Absolutely.
somebody like yourself is delving deeper and deeper into that to then try to create another piece of art
Mm,
from it.
exactly. Exactly.
Fire, fire.
Exactly. Like you said, it's you could hear it pass you by, two bars passes you by, and you think, oh, that sounded cool. But
Right.
then when you hear it repetitively for 30 times, which is what a loop is, it gives you another feeling. And then
Yeah.
when someone adds another melody to it or another rap rhythmically to it, something different rhythmically to it, it takes it somewhere else, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, absolutely.
and that's
I'm actually gonna listen to the Meters. I see the Meters anthology,
yeah,
Funkify Your Life.
yeah. Don't
A lot of people did drum covers of this joint, Sissy Strut.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna play it. That's one thing I got to figure out how to do while we in the studio. Sometime is like when I want to play the
Mm,
audio of
yeah,
something without the video, because you know it's
mm,
tough walking down that line of what's copywritten because you just want
mm,
to you just want to give credit to it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
what
You just
you
want
you
to
could just have. Why don't you just have an external, like something separate?
separate what? A separate mic?
No, a separate, like a separate speaker, and then you run it from a separate phone or something.
Yeah, I could do that.
I don't
Let
know.
me
What
just
you
try.
are
Let me
you
try
on
it
your
real
phone?
quick on my phone. Let me try it real quick on my phone. I'm just gonna search for the meters sissy strut, right?
Mm.
Actually no, I'll do the original. Let me go to the actual album, pull it up. All right. So after this lovely advertisement that has to play before everything, I'll play it. Is this it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yo, we've all heard this and didn't even know.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know I've heard this.
Exactly.
Yo, that's fire.
Yeah. I mean, that. Yeah. That's like I
That's
said.
fire.
That's one of those. That's one of those groups, man. When a guy put me onto them, and I delved into their product, I was like, oh,
Yo,
this is
funk is
funky.
different, man. Funk is
Yeah.
it's yeah, funk is a different beast. And I guess a lot of genres that came out of you know, people going through life's traumas,
Mm,
people existing in tumultuous times. There's something about art that always finds a way to be at its most beautiful point.
mm,
That's it's interesting how darkness in an artist's life will lead to the art shining so bright.
mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was just listening to Dion Cole talk about that in his special. Matter of fact, that he he lost his mom
Mm.
last year,
Oh
and
wow.
his mom Charlene, and rest in peace to Mama Charlene, and
Mm,
he had his special. They scheduled it on the 1 year anniversary of his mom passing. And
mm,
originally he didn't want to do it because of that. And he thought he was
mm,
just going to be a wreck. And he finally decided to do it. And he did the entire show, one of his best specials ever.
mm,
And he was saying at the end, when they do like they want an encore, came back out and told people that like this was one of the hardest nights of his life.
mm,
And he was talking about how y'all got to support and give a lot of comedians love and a lot of these artists love, because you don't know how much of their life they put to the side to come and give you
mm,
something amazing.
mm,
And he was just basically like a call to action for support and love, you know what I mean, especially to the comedy community.
mm,
And that is very similar to what I think about when I listen to blues music, when I listen to early hip hop music, when I listen to funk music. It's like the people that are creating this music,
mm,
they ain't having the time of their lives right now.
mm. Right. Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
I
They're
mean,
not in the greatest place ever right
mm,
now, but they provided us something that allowed us to be in one of our best places when we're listening to and
mm.
experiencing that art, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, pain produces that.
Right.
Pain produces that, and that was part of the greatness I feel about the old way of making music. Um, it wasn't perfected. It,
Right.
it it was more of a capture situation. It would capture stuff, you
Right.
know. Even going back before samplers and stuff, where the James Browns of the world used to just walk in the studio with a band and they would just like play it down as a recording.
Hmm.
So therefore, there were imperfections within the music that became perfect. Marvin
Right.
Gaye's a good example of that. A lot of his albums you listen to and it's just a vibe, and you're captured. And here's a guy. Obviously, there's a guy that we knew. Obviously, later we knew even more that he had so much pain in his
So
life,
much.
and that was caught. And yeah, as you said, their pain brings us pleasure,
Yeah,
enjoyment, appreciation of them.
yeah,
Um, without sounding old, it's definitely not as present in a lot of today's music. I think a lot of us, not us. I mean, I think today a lot of people, artists, are producing and creating from a quite privileged position.
yeah.
You
It,
know.
it it feels like it happens on two planes nowadays, more or less. It's like you either have the artists that are eating, and that's what they rap about. They rap
Mm,
about, and this is been synonymous since going back to Curtis Blow. I mean, rappers have always rapped about
mm,
material things. The difference
yeah.
is a lot of times back then they didn't really have it. They were just kind of rapping more
Mm,
prophetically. Well,
mm,
I guess in the prophetic ideal of hip hop as a single body, it
mm,
did prophesy itself because now
yeah. Yeah.
these
That it.
rappers are actually living that kind of lifestyle. So when they talk about Lear jets and yachts
Mm,
and champagne and hot tubs and mansions, like they really live in that life. And I feel like
mm,
nowadays it either happens on that plane and they're honest about where they are, or it happens on the plane you know, um, where it's a lot darker. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? They rapping about killing. They rapping about who they hate. They rapping about
mm,
suicide. They rapping about
mm,
mental health issues, but they're being honest to that. And there's one thing that through the past decade, I've finally come to the realization that this new rap music is still hip hop. I had a hard time calling it that
mm,
during some of the early um Soldier Boy era
mm,
music. I had a hard time looking at that as hip hop because it didn't feel like the hip hop culture. But one thing that is synonymous with every element of hip hop that we know is
mm,
honesty.
mm,
Honesty. And so whether I like the final product all the time, I ain't like the final product of every 90s record. I didn't like the
mm,
final product of even the artists that I love, like a Nas. I don't like every Nas song. I don't
mm,
like every J song. I
mm,
don't. So I can't put that same level of criticism over the new wave. But one thing I will say is that they are just as honest
mm,
in their current state as hip hop has always been. So if drill music is their honesty, not that I love it or glorify it, they're being honest.
mm.
They
Yeah.
saying, "Yo, I'm coming after you. I don't like you. I know what you." That's just hip
Yeah.
hop at its core. At its core, which is why I think hip hop and country music are more similar than people realize. Because they look at the artists, they think they're so different. You know
Mm,
what I mean? They're like night and day, no pun intended. But in reality, there is a very honest portrayal of lifestyle and current conditions that hip hop and country music have always operated in.
mm.
And yeah, I guess we can get
So,
into that another time.
honesty and telling your true story.
Right.
Yeah.
Being straight up about it.
Yeah.
Well, we were gonna transition into real estate, but I know we don't have a ton of time. The show has been going deep into music. We got some like an incredible top five that
Mm,
if anybody out there has any questions about any person or group in that top five,
mm,
in that top five, from number one, James Brown, number two, The Meters, number three, Parliament, number four, Cameo, number five, Earth, Wind, and Fire. If you don't know,
mm,
you need to go find out. If you love music, I ain't saying if you love black music, rap music, soul, period. If you
mm,
love music,
mm.
go listen.
Yeah.
There will be
Absolutely.
something from each of those acts that brings you some level of joy that you can tap into.
Mm,
So,
absolutely.
with that being said, you want to talk about real estate now, or you want to get into that another day?
I mean, we could do a quick summary of real estate.
Okay, okay.
Um,
We always want to get there because we all know
I
that
like to.
home ownership is
Yeah.
huge. something that's on the rise. It is the American dream per se, but
Yeah,
we also know that it has been somewhat predatory in certain years. But I
yeah,
don't think that should change the overall goal. And my man Roger Drakes knows real estate through and through more than anybody I know. Not only an agent, but a broker, a true professional in every right. Speak on the real estate market right now.
yeah. It's like another transition. I should have left and put a shirt on and came back as a different person now, because I am the same person.
Yeah.
But one of the beauties of growing, I believe, is gathering more wisdom, understanding, and maturing in a way that's dignified, which is something I do feel a way when I see Big Daddy Kane. Not so much him though. Definitely Rakim. Um, some of them, when I see some of them from my era, who I really love and respect,
Yeah.
but they're not presenting like men properly.
Mm,
More in appearance.
yeah.
Red Man to a degree, even though he might be a bit younger. It's almost like I felt with my career as I grew and as I grew as a person, I wanted to make sure I represent as a man, as an adult now. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Not as this
Yeah.
young 28-year-old who's into hip hop doing music, regardless.
Right.
So
Honest. See, there it is again. Honest. You want to
yeah,
be honest to exactly where you
yeah,
are right now.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
because I realized that what happened was as my DJ Dodge persona as such, which is what it is, I guess, as it changed over the years, it went from being an asset to being a liability, or
Mm,
something that caused me less pleasure, discomfort to a point.
hmm.
See what I mean?
Okay.
Because of I guess the expectations of delivering to the same level you've always delivered to, I guess. See what I mean?
Mm,
It's it can create something else in you. When I talk about it, sometimes I've mentioned a few times that Andre 3000's done a couple of interviews where he's spoken about music, and I felt that that was the closest description that kind of matched the way I felt during the later years. So we're talking like 2014 now, 2015, 2016. See, I mean, after I've been doing music in America for maybe 5 or 6 years, and nothing's really happening. I'm just playing around. Nothing's really happening. Um, and then feelings kind of change towards it. See what I mean? Because it's almost
yeah.
like, well, you're not in a position anymore to sit in a room and just do it for pleasure.
Yeah.
Even though you're getting off on it and it sounds great and you're loving it, you're just not in a position to do it for pleasure anymore, because
Yeah.
you have to step into another area as a man.
And that's a hard transition, man.
Right.
That's a
It's
hard
really hard.
transition. Yeah.
It's really hard. And then I didn't want to go, even though I was a DJ and I'm used to clubs, I didn't want to be out in the club at 45 shopping a demo or talking to somebody about listening to my project. See what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
In a VIP lounge with, and so a lot of it came together where the transition from, say, music to another profession, real estate, made so much sense. I didn't even hesitate, because it was a gradual transition, and my faith spoke to me and said, no, you know, this is it. This is what you're doing now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in LA between, say, 2010 and 2014, I worked for a foreclosure investor, and they used to buy and sell properties during the crash time and thereafter at the courthouses. So I had a really good kind of apprenticeship stroke baptism to the US real estate market via
Mm,
that. I was in deep. I was doing like title inspections, home visual inspections, bidding at foreclosure court on properties, 3-day evictions and unlawful detainer notice at the courthouse, that type of stuff, getting people out, all that kind of stuff.
you were in all of it.
Yeah, I was in all of it for the first
You-
4 or 5 years.
talking
After,
to homeowners, knocking on
so
doors, all
all
that,
that,
driving
all that,
neighborhoods.
exactly. And I was doing all that without even thinking I'm going to be an agent.
Mm,
I was just doing all that, and I was thinking my mindset back then was like, investment.
Yeah, you'll
This
be an
you know
investor.
I want to be an investor. I want to
Yeah.
build. I want to develop and remodel and do all that kind of stuff. So, but then the market got better, fixed up, and then a lot of the companies I was working with pulled out. So therefore, it was almost like, okay, what's the next step? And the next step was get a license, a sales license, become a realtor, and then see if I could start helping people, purchase, buy, and sell homes. Which was, I never even thought it was going to be difficult, but I always knew from a personality standpoint it was another challenge I had to break through,
Hmm.
because even though I'm talking here now and I'm rapping away, I did TV shows, I did all kinds of stuff on in the past. I still wasn't naturally I didn't naturally gravitate to, speaking to people,
Yeah.
like crowds, and I get an energy, like a nervous energy, and I'd kind of be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I get that
And to be a realtor, you got to do it to hundreds of people over and over again all the time.
all the time.
You know what I
And people are, because the stakes are so high, they
mean?
are literally hanging on every word. So you got to be on point, because
Yeah,
they will come back. Oh, I thought you said rates would be. Hold on, I thought you said this house would. I
right.
thought you said the buyer.
Anything that's off in real estate, it takes 110% confidence
Yeah,
to go into a listing appointment with people you don't really know and walk out with a contract to sell their house and sell it and close it. It takes 110% confidence.
gotta
So
have
I
that.
so I was like, okay, there's ways of building confidence. It could be innately in you to not be super confident, but take me back to when I was making music. See what I mean? That's and
Yeah,
that's the energy I draw on because of, like I said, I never fought for a situation. I was just confident. I just had the product. I knew what I was doing. I knew everything about the product, and that's where the confidence comes from. So I've adopted that same mentality in my real estate in order to be great and do
yeah.
things and buy and sell homes. Learn, learn
Learn,
it, start
learn
study
it.
it, be in it. You know what I mean?
Be a student.
Be a
Yeah,
student, exactly. Every single day, all the time. Up to now, I mean, I'm 10 years in now, and I've sold. I think I'm about 35 properties or so, which isn't a lot for 10 years, because that's only like three a year. But it's
right.
still 35 properties. If I was a new agent, that would be a massive amount of properties.
That's
And
huge.
within those properties, there's been probably about 50 different experiences, because there were ones that didn't sell. So
Right.
therefore, so therefore, you learn as much from the ones that don't work as the ones that do work. See what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's a massive amount of experiences as far as buying and selling real estate. Not to mention my own properties where I've become a homeowner during that period. So therefore, I've been blessed to understand it from the homeowner's side. See what I mean?
Yeah.
In other words, I know what it's like to have to maintain and run a property or whatever. So, you know, I can. I'm not just selling you a home. I can advise you on what exactly how it's going to feel 5 years from now, type of
Hmm.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all these other little things you learn, but ultimately confidence, and like I said, confidence is learning it, knowing it, being it, experiencing it, having experienced it for yourself, um, and then the rest hopefully will just fall into place. But
As-
what? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it sounds like there's a common thread in you, and I don't know if you hear it or not, but there's a similarity to you as a producer, or you as a DJ, as you being in the real estate market, being an agent, because in talking about remixing, we talked about the science of the little things, like paying
Mm,
attention to the nuances.
mm,
And you even said, once I make something, as long as I like it, it
mm,
didn't matter what else happened. And what
mm,
you just said about the process of working with different homes, you said it doesn't matter if it's sold, you still learn something through the
mm,
process. So I
mm,
think your ability to be in love with the process, to pay attention to the process, to be
mm,
a student of the nuances of selling a house. How do I present myself? How
mm,
do I come across? How do I speak? What do I know about it?
mm,
All the way over to DJing. How many records have I actually looked into? What have I paid attention to? What time stretching is really going to do with this
mm,
particular vocal? What is the story I want to tell with this remix? All of it says, like, I'm being a student of the product before the product gets to the public.
Mm.
Before the product gets in front of the person that wants to buy into it, I was already into the weeds of this thing, figuring this thing out. So, like you said, 110% confidence when I go into this meeting, also 110% confidence when I ship you part 1 and part 2 of this
Yeah,
let's take a walk
yeah,
remix.
yeah, absolutely. Because the character you build stays with you wherever you go.
How you do
So
anything is how you do everything.
how you exactly.
Yes,
So
sir.
like I said, I did if I'm doing a lease, for example, leases don't pay that well in comparison to sales.
Mhm.
Every agent knows that, but I treat every single situation with the same energy, and I go at it at the same speed, and I drive to wherever I need to drive to work on it as far as real estate.
Yeah,
Because to me, it's just that's it's just the energy. It's just how you are. I mean, why would you drop off because of it's a lower check? You know what I mean?
right, right.
Especially when it's you, especially when you actually genuinely do love the process.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I did a lease the other day, and we closed it straight away, but I still shot a video for it, and I still obviously I'm putting stuff out. Marketing material for me is good, but I also do it because I love to put the drone up and play with it.
yeah,
I'd love to jump on my computer and edit the drone video and put some music to it. You know what I mean?
right.
And to me,
That's the joy.
that's the joy. That's part of
Yeah,
the passion and part of the process. So I'm not missing out on that just because of there's no check behind it. You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
That's the and like I said, and when I have a bigger listing now that I know is going to net me 20, 30, 40 grand or whatever, the energy is there. It's the same energy. I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not doing it thinking, wow, this check. I'm doing it because of I want them pictures, I want them lines to be straight in that shot. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't want it to look like an amateur photographer did it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm on Photoshop, I'm skewing pictures, I'm pulling out a photograph in the there's something in the person's house in the background. I don't like the look of that. I'm on Photoshop pulling out stuff of a picture that no one's gonna notice.
right, right. I don't think people understand though what you're saying. It's like it's hard to tap into the beauty of an artist's mind, and
Right.
that's really what you're bringing to real estate. It's like this
Mm,
integrity of an artist that like I'm gonna put everything I have or can into this piece of music.
mm,
It, so by the time it comes out, I love it.
mm,
I'm never gonna just give you something you love it and I hate it, and I'm
mm,
sitting there like I have to live with this thing being in the world that
mm,
I just absolutely feel like nothing about.
mm,
Like you're putting a artist level love and passion and energy into producing marketing materials for real estate. And
mm,
I could only imagine, and I know because I've seen them, that
mm,
the same way that your top five put their passion into each song and how you put passion into your remixes and why you were so sought out at such a high level so fast,
mm,
all of that same exact energy, as they say, creatives don't stop. We just kind of change where the energy goes. All
mm.
that same energy exists in your flyer for this new home that's for
Yeah,
sale,
yeah. I'm looking at it like a piece of work, a piece of art. You know what I mean?
which is dope.
People,
And that's
it,
emotional.
yeah.
And home buying is emotional.
Absolutely. I'm like, if people don't read the flyer or they don't connect with the information on the flyer, they're gonna
Yeah.
feel that they're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna look at it and they're gonna feel it. They're gonna say, "Oh, that looks that we're in a visual world now, especially since Instagram and everything else." They're gonna, "Oh, that feels good."
Yeah. Something about it. They'll be drawn
Something
to it.
about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so that's it. That's it with the real estate. The market itself. People always ask me how the market is and stuff. That's a really popular question with real estate, and most of the time they kind of know the answer because so much of the information now is publicized. Whether it be interest rates on the news that are high, people know the interest rates are high. People know that California period has been in low inventory for years now, so there's not enough homes to buy. Scarcity, which is kind of good in a high interest rate market because it means the prices won't dip too much. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because every property is still, its intrinsic value is intrinsic value won't drop too low as long as there's nothing else to buy. So I mean, it's like a glass of
Right.
water. How much is a glass of water worth? If there's only one, it's worth $1 billion. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. That's a fact.
Um,
That's a fact.
so so yeah, so that's the market basically, but it's actually changed more to a normalized market once the interest rates go down, especially because of prior to 2023, it was an abnormal market where things just kept going up at a higher rate than they usually go up.
Yep.
And obviously, everything that goes up must come down or stop
Let's
at
come
some
down.
point.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of changing over to that. There's still a few major issues, I guess, if you're an agent, as far as the amount of agents there are, as far as agents per sale. Like for
Yeah.
example, say five homes sold this week in Sherman Oaks, for example. Say five homes sold, but there's probably like maybe 10,000 agents who live in Sherman Oaks.
Right.
See, what I mean, it's kind of that huge disparity
Yeah. That's huge.
because
That's huge.
ultimately, yeah, ultimately there's not enough supply for the demand as far as agents.
Yeah.
So a lot of agents are quitting this year. Like since
Mm.
between January and now, which is we're 7 months in July, a lot of agents I'm reading have quit. Like as much as 30% have gone. They may not have. You don't delete your license. You just let it expire. But they've gone on to do other things. Their day to day now doesn't look like they're chasing real estate. They've gone on to do either a job or doing another career or working on something else because of it's that tough. It's that tough for us, the agents, to do sales. I haven't done one sale in 2023.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But just like with the DJing and the music before, like I said, I have other things going on. Therefore, I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
yeah, I got
So,
other things going.
so I know there's, uh, going to be a lot of people in different walks of life that are listening to this, and depending on when they're listening,
Mm,
the facts that we give about the market as it stands today may not even be the same. You could be listening to this in
right. That's
2045,
what I mean. Yeah, that's
and
what I
and
mean.
it don't even this sounds old,
Mm,
but for someone that is watching or listening right now, um, uh, everybody's lifestyle might be a little different. You got people that are looking to buy their first home, people looking to buy their third or fourth, people that are currently renting, people are thinking about selling, people are thinking
mm,
about buying a rental property and getting a renter. So I'm gonna go
mm.
through a few lightning questions and let's see just how your idea of how to direct those people as far as like your suggestions of what they should be doing. So number one, if someone is currently renting, what's the best next move for them?
Buy something
Buy something. Okay, if you're renting, buy something.
as soon as possible.
If you just bought your first home and you
Mm,
only own that one home right now, obviously all this is kind of like California market, though
mm,
all the markets are, kind of touch on each other. We're kind
mm,
of being specific to California. You own one home right
mm.
now. What should you do?
Buy something, a rental.
Buy a second home. There you go.
Yeah,
Double down.
yeah.
Double down. All right, you are thinking you own a home, but you're thinking about getting a renter to put in that home. Should you go rent somewhere else, or should you buy somewhere else?
Buy somewhere else.
And all things lead to buy something. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are looking, since we keep going down buying, if you're looking to buy, um, what are your suggested steps to someone maybe who's never purchased a house before? Step one all the way to the day of buying the house, as succinctly and condensed as you can give them those steps.
Okay. Get your credit score good, FICO score, because everything goes against your name. Your FICO score is equally as important as how much money you have. It's your credibility card. If you got a low FICO score, that's the first thing you have to fix. Get it above 720, preferably 720 plus.
Hmm.
750 is great. 780, you're in a good area. That's the main thing. No lender is going to give you a good deal with a low credit score. Anything with a low credit score you can get is going to be a slightly higher, more expensive deal as far as lending. Secondly, save as much cash as you can. Now, obviously, that's a tough one because of if you're earning and you're paying rent, sometimes it's hard to save because, as you know, the general rule of thumb is we shouldn't spend more than 30% of our income on our roof over our head. But it doesn't work like that, especially in California. So
Especially.
there's many people out there spending 60% plus 60% on their rent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Rents
easily.
rents are rents are expensive. When you have a 4,000 a month rent, see what I mean, or whatever it is, that could be a good chunk of somebody's monthly income.
Yep.
But ultimately, you need a deposit of some kind to get a good loan. Now there are no deposit loans, but ultimately, the more cash you have to put in, skin in the game, the lower your monthlies will be, and two, the more you have control over, you know, the house and your money because of you have money in it, instant equities in it. See what I mean? And
Yep.
think of it another way. Any money you save up and you put into a project, all you're doing is putting your cash into a very it's like putting your cash into a very high interest account where you're gonna
Mhm.
where one, it's very safe, probably more safe than the bank, and two, it's gonna grow better for you than if you left it anywhere else.
Right.
So don't consider it like I saved 100 grand. Shit, I'm gonna lose it now on this house. I'm about to put it into this house. No, it's there. It's always there for you, and
Right.
it will grow. So that's one, credit score. Two, get some cash, and then the next step after that is easy. It's just find a lender. Find somebody who, based on what you have circumstantial wise, your job. Obviously, you want to make sure you have regular income or can prove regular income if you're self-employed, W-2s, tax returns, that type of stuff. Prove what's coming in. Then the next step is obviously just find a lender to approve you for an amount that you can offer on a property for, and that's it. It's super. It's one of the things I believe that people do have as a complicated thing in their head
Yeah.
because of home ownership seen as such a big step for people, especially when you're younger.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
it's not. It's if you studied and went to college and got through a few tests, and everyone goes through some kind of test at some point in life. It's no different to that. You just get some paperwork and you get your ducks in a row and you have to deal with it. The financial side is more, I guess, more determination, because ultimately, if your income isn't great, I sound like Dave Ramsey here, but income is king. You have to prioritize getting that steady and getting it up.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
if you
And
bring
you need
if you
that anyway, so you can keep the house.
that's what I'm saying, and it's not like you don't need that to rent somewhere.
Right.
You
True.
need that. You're doing it. You're gonna do it anyway. So why not
True.
try and you just always be trying to do it to the highest level, because of the more regular it is and the more higher it is will determine the moves you can make, especially if you're younger as well, because of when you have more energy creatively, physically, more freedom. Maybe if you don't have a family and kids, it's the best time to really, build that,
Yeah.
because it does get harder as you get older. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my advice
Those are
to people.
top three things. That's great. That's
Yeah,
three
and the
steps:
the
credit,
right,
cash for deposit, and then get pre-qualified. Find a
yeah,
lender.
exactly, and buy, yeah, and then buy. Call me, and then we go buy.
There
Yeah,
you go. There you
and
go.
the reason I always went back to buy, just so
Yeah.
that I don't want it to sound like I'm just skipping stuff and just going for whatever.
Mhm.
The reason I always go back to buy is because of one, the home you live in is not pure investment. So the first property you buy when you live in it, even though you're going to experience benefits from equity and appreciation over time if you live in there long enough, you're going to experience all of that. But it's still not 100% investment because you pay to live there. So I
Right.
mean, even though you're paying down your mortgage, you're still paying to live there. So you still need your income to pay it. Whereas your first rental now that you buy that's separate to your home becomes 100% a business investment.
Right.
It's like ideally it shouldn't cost you a cent. Even if it's making you $100 a month, it's still an investment.
True.
And over time it will make you more.
True. And
Because
not a lot of investments. It's hard to find an investment that makes you $100 a month. Like some
exactly,
people
yeah.
might look at that like, man, I bought this whole house and this and that and the other. This investment property. I only make $100. Well, name another place you
Mm,
can put your money and
yeah,
see a
get
$100 increase every
yeah.
month. It ain't
Every
happening. It
it
definitely
ain't
ain't
happening,
happening
right.
at your bank
Exactly,
at
precisely.
all.
And over time that 100 will turn into 500, will turn into 1,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, we bought a property. My wife and I personally bought a property where we were paying $500 a month for a couple of years at least. Yeah, until we refied, and then the rents went up, and now that same property is giving us about 1,000 a month. And
That's different.
you know,
That's
yeah,
different.
exactly, and you know,
That's
so
different.
say that's 12 grand a year from one property. Take off maybe 2 or 3 grand for repairs you may have to do, because I
Right.
did a couple of things, but
Yeah.
it's still nine.
Yeah. That's
You know what I
big.
mean?
And
Right.
again, most investments ain't gonna see
Don't
you
get
ain't gonna see
no from
$9,000
anywhere.
at the
No,
at all.
you know how much money you'd have to
Unless you
put.
put in $1 million.
Right. You'd have to exactly. You'd have to leave $1 million in cash
Right.
in the average bank to probably get that.
Right. Absolutely. All
So
right. So those are 3 steps of what to do. I want to hear some things not to do. You've been involved in a lot of real estate transactions. You talk to tons of buyers and sellers and renters. What things have you seen first time buyers get stuck on? What do you see? What mistakes have you seen them make that you're like, man, this happens over and over and over? If I had to give somebody a list of do not do these things, what would that be?
um because real estate to me is one of the safest bets, just because I know it well. It's probably a bit more difficult for me to come up with the five do nots, but there's a couple of obvious ones, like as you're on the road to buying a property and fixing up your general financial numbers and situation, you really have to not buy anything. Don't purchase anything big. Don't purchase anything
And
that,
what's big over what? Is there a dollar amount that comes to
yeah,
mind?
anything that's over, say, $500 in terms
Hmm,
of like a credit purchase.
credit wise, okay.
You have to stop. Yeah, definitely don't purchase like anything big for the house, or anything like a car or anything like that. You have to don't do that, because people have done that before while they've been in the process, and it's messed up the process. When you're buying a property, a lender will check. They'll check you at the beginning of the process, say 30 days, and then when you go into escrow, before they actually fund the property, they'll also run some more checks.
Hmm.
And if they see that you just bought a car while you're in the middle of escrow, and if you know, so therefore the numbers you had at the beginning aren't the same now. There's an added expense of $300 a month. It changes all the numbers, and they may pull your loan.
Oh, yep. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a great one.
that's
Stay
a
away
good
from
one.
any major
That's
purchase.
yeah, that's more lenders will tell you that. Once they qualify you and you're pre-qualified and you're looking for your house, don't buy anything that will change your credit score
Gotcha.
negatively.
Gotcha.
Um, so that's that, because people have done that and messed up on a property before. Um, Second thing is, when you do buy something, make sure you don't scrimp on inspections.
Hmm.
A lot of agents will say, you know, some agents, there's brilliant agents, but there's some are just not as thorough or just not as experienced, and they will say, okay, you do your general inspection, you check out the house properly, um, you see what's up. If it all looks good, depending on the type of house, of course, um, it's fine, good to go. But I was always, my mindset is always depending on the type of house and where the house is situated, the year it was built, and everything. If you have any sniff or any inkling of anything that needs further inspection, make sure you check it, because that could be costly down the line if you don't. See what I mean?
Yep.
There's a few standards. Obviously, you do a general inspection. There's roofing, there's foundation, there's things like sewer line. If the house has a fireplace, check chimneys, because chimneys are quite expensive to repair. If the house has a pool, check the pool is not leaking or things of that nature, because those are all things that are $20,000 plus to fix. See what I mean?
And now, are
Uh,
these all different inspectors that they have to get, or is this like
well,
one or
yeah, that no, these are different inspectors. That's what I mean. That's why I say you have your general inspection. Then anything he kind of says, hey, check that out. You have to make a decision then whether to check it out or not. And I always advise clients, check everything out.
yeah?
See, because your general inspection, say $500, for example, and then each other inspection wise, will be probably the same.
Mm.
So if you
That
have
runs up.
yeah, so if you have four inspections on four different things, because don't forget the general inspector is not a specialist in all the other stuff. He could look at the roof, or he or she could look at the roof, but they're not a roofer. They're not a specialist. And they definitely can't quote accurately on what it might cost to repair.
Hmm.
So when buying, I always say, within reason, check out as much as you can.
And
That's
obviously
what.
they kind of have to weigh that against your second to do item, which was getting their cash up. So if you feel like you pretty much just got enough to kind of get
Mm,
across the down
mm,
payment,
mm,
finish line,
mm,
then maybe $3,000 of inspections, you got to start
mm.
looking like, can I do
Yeah,
that? You can't
yeah,
use
exactly.
credit. Don't try to use your credit card. Can't
Yeah,
do that either. So
exactly. Yeah,
you got to weigh that out.
and everything is obviously weighed up because ultimately the $3,000 of inspections you can get back if stuff is found, because then you can use that
Gotcha.
as part. You can use that as part of your negotiation and get it off of the price. See what I mean?
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah. If something's
so
found, that makes sense.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's more a case of trying to protect yourself against uh, horrible costs that you didn't know about
Yeah.
a year after ownership or whatever,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the one thing about home ownership, which is, it's not a negative in any way, but people have to understand the differences between owning a property and renting somewhere. There's a load more responsibilities on top of your mortgage that come with ownership. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all yours basically. So
Yeah.
everything's an issue. Like right now, even in my backyard here, we got like trees that are an issue. That are $2,000 worth of just chopping stuff down
Wow.
to make sure that they don't go
Yeah.
out of control.
Well,
So
bro.
so yeah, so yeah, it's not like I said. I'm an advocate for ownership. So there's not really that many do nots,
Yeah.
And if you're working with someone like
Precautions.
if you're working with someone like myself, you're not going to land in hot water. You're not going to land in the hot water that I hear about some people do, because experience and professionalism help you to avoid that. You know what I mean?
Well, I
You know.
can vouch. I can vouch for that because insider secret. Roger
Mm,
Drake's was the realtor for our
mm,
first purchase, which is where we are right now, and he handled the process beautifully. He took a lot of the pressure off of myself and my wife. He carried us through our first time buyers process effortlessly with all the information necessary, and made it not feel, like a big deal. I mean, it was, of course, me and my wife had the what she likes, what I don't like, and this and
yeah.
that, and neighborhood. That's what's gonna happen. That's part of the process. Get ready for it, fellas. That's
Yeah.
part of the
Exactly.
process.
Yeah. I
But
had it too. And I know
right,
real
right.
estate. It's tough.
That part you ain't gonna get around that. That just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
But to have a professional with you that can take out that other stuff that can hem you up that you wouldn't have known,
Mm,
that can stand in front of roadblocks or caution you about roadblocks that you might have just slammed into with a different realtor or trying to do it yourself.
mm,
You don't realize um how much benefit, how much peace
mm.
that having the right person can add to the process. It turns their minute fee to being well worth it. You'd pay them double if you could, if you knew all the legwork that they took out of the process for you to make it that much easier and to make your home buying journey, you know, that much better and memorable. So
Yeah.
we thank you,
Yeah. And
appreciate you.
I thank you for the opportunity, because, like I said, it doesn't matter. I don't work to a price point. I work to, fulfill the goal and fulfill the mission, that mission is even more important when it's with people that I love and care for and have known. I know their family dynamic. I know the kids. It's a whole different ball game. Then it's like, no,
Yeah.
we're doing something here. You know what I mean? It's important. So
Oh yeah.
thanks for
I
the
told my
opportunity.
wife the moment we decided we were doing it, I'm like, all right, well, you know who our realtor is. She was like, I already know.
I already know.
There was no hesitation. That was probably the easiest part of the whole process.
Right.
Us
Right.
is who's gonna do it. Oh, we know. And so
Yeah.
now we just call him, let him know, and then we get it moving. So anybody out there in the LA area, if you are listening now or anytime in the next 100 years, because I know he's gonna keep doing it, keep making families happy, keep adding to families' portfolios and showing people how real estate is the proper investment for not only today but for your children's tomorrow, for us as a culture and community. This is the guy. This is the guy.
Thank
We'll
you.
put his contact information in the description, but just so people can hear it, if they're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, how can they reach you, Roger Drakes?
Uh, just Google Roger Drakes. That's the easiest way. Drake's Estates, LA is the name I use, but I'm very social. So just Google Roger Drakes and everything will come up. Just Roger
And
Drakes Realtor, you'll see everything.
and
Instagram,
that's Roger, not Rodger.
yeah, no D. ROGER, then Drakes, like the rapper with an S.
There you go, Drakes. Well, sir, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you, my friend, the incomparable DJ Dodge,
Yes,
aka
sir.
the real estate mogul,
Yeah,
Roger Drakes,
yeah.
here
Thank you
on
for having
Pod
me,
is
man.
Good, episode 8. Yo, Pod is good,
All the time.
and all the time.
Pod is good.
All right, y'all. Signing out. Thank you, my homie. Be easy. I'll talk
All
to you
right,
soon, bro.
all right, man.
All right, peace
Take
out.
care.